Super Rugby round number 9, folks. The final round where we have still 4 teams on the bye. Next week it's kind of back to full in action and then the run into the playoffs. This week it's the Chiefs, the Rebels, the Waratahs and the Moana Pacifica boys who are on that rest. So 2 games on the Friday, 2 games on the Saturday. We'll go through some lineups, some stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how the games may be going to go this weekend. The first one, the Fijian and DRUvHUR taking on the as yet undefeated Hurricanes, is a pretty interesting one for mine, mainly because the game is in Fiji. If this were in Wellington, you feel like the Canes would be virtually a sure thing with the form they're in. But Fiji, the DRUvHUR boys, that just seems to be a different story for them, although they'll be looking to improve discipline after a couple of red cards in their last game against the Rebels. Hetet, Ikanaveri and Dogia, that is the same front row, so that's a bit of good news, bolstered by also the return of Nasilasila in the second row. Big news kind of though in the back line. They've brought in Kurivoli from the bench to start at 9 with Lomani suspension. They've got Rabitu with his first ever start at 10. And they've also brought in Kemu Valetini for his first ever start at 12. So it's an all-new 10-12 combination for the DRUvHUR boys. So that's a little bit of a gamble, one would imagine. But you've got guys like Masi and Ravotamanda who have been absolutely tearing up all the kind of attacking stats in terms of clean breaks and defenders beaten and whatnot. So there's always going to be that threat with this DRUvHUR side. They've also brought in a few guys on the bench, including Matawalu, Natukani, Ratuva, and so on. So yeah, it's a bit of a changed lineup from the DRUvHUR side that played a couple of weeks ago. For the Hurricanes, I mean, good win against the Chiefs in their last game. They have maybe got a little bit of a luxury in terms of being able to change the lineup a bit, but we have seen teams tinker with their lineups when heading to Fiji and sometimes pay a high price for it, but it's a long season. You need to keep guys fresh. Mafileo gets a start this week at loose head. James O'Reilly also gets a start alongside Pasilo Tosi. So it's an all-new front row compared to the side that played the Chiefs. They've also got Ben Grant, who's going to be on his Super Rugby debut. He's played a bit of NPC, a bit of MLR before, so congratulations to him in the second row. Also, Duplessis Karifi and Devin Flanders promoted from bench to starting duties this week. TJ Perenara still kind of hunting down that try-scoring record. I think he's level at the moment with Julian Savia, so he gets a start at 9. Aidan Morgan into the 23 to start at 10, and Celeste Reasi also into the 23 on the left wing. Kinina Holo switches wings, and then Josh Morby switches to fullback. So a lot of changes, and then a debutant prop potentially to come off the bench in Siali Lawaki, who's played a bit of NPC and under 20s rugby as well. So yeah, certainly a lot of changes for the Hurricane side. Second game is kind of 2 teams who you feel like both really need a win. The Reds, 3 losses in a row, including that latest one against Moana Pacifica, where they would have gone in as favourites, and they had a couple of red cards themselves. And then Highlanders, 4 losses in a row, including that latest one to the Rebels. So both sides could really use a kind of feel-good win. The Reds, they've changed a few things. They've brought in Hodgman to start at loose head this week. They've also brought in Cormac Daly into the second row because Seru Uru, unfortunately, is injured. He is the guy who has carried more times than any other player in Super Rugby Pacific this year. But it's okay for the Reds because the second top guy is Harry Wilson. So he's another Reds player. He is starting at number 8. Also, John Bryant comes in at the number 7 jersey to replace the suspended Fraser McCright. Tom Liner also gets the nod at 10 this week. Kalani Thomas up from the bench at number 9. And Jordi Pataya switches into the midfield from the outside backs. For the Highlanders boys, it's not quite wholesale, but it's a lot of changes. It is 2 from the 3 guys who were on the bench last week start in the front row. That's the likes of De Groot and Ricky Jackson. Also, Hugo Plummer is going to get his first ever Super Rugby start in the second row, having only appeared from the bench in the past. And the back row is entirely tinkered with Haig at 6, Withy at 7, and Billy Harmon switching to number 8. So all guys who played last week but with different jersey numbers on their back this week. And also James Askett and Cameron Miller as an all-new 9-10 combo with the likes of Folau Fakatava dropping to the bench. And then at fullback, Connor Garden-Bashop's going to get a crack ahead of Jacob Ratumaitavuki-Nipkin. So big calls because like Fakatava's had, I think, 7 try assists, which I think is second in the entire competition. And Ratumaitavuki-Nipkins is their top guy for like defenders beaten. So 2 of their main attacking weapons being dropped to the bench in a very important match. Big calls from the Landers. Now the Saturday games feature the Blues in the first one and the Crusaders in the second. Now interestingly, DRUvHUR has played for both sides. He appeared on a new segment called It's Not Tiddlywinks on NZR Plus. I checked that out earlier today. I'll put a link down to NZR Plus down in the description. DRUvHUR in that kind of chat does talk about the feelings of being a Blues man heading a bit further south than he was used to. But yeah, it's an interesting chat. He's also alongside Angus Ta'avao in that chat as well. So yeah, do check that out. It was certainly an interesting listen. But we'll start with the Blues. They are hosting the Brumbies, which is, just in terms of their records, 6 wins, 1 loss, 6 win, 1 loss. A proper ding-dong top-of-the-table affair for this one. It is at Eden Park, and both sides are coming off the bye. So that probably puts things slightly in the Blues' favour just in terms of being at home, but this one has a proper battle written all over it. Also, Tuipulotu is back for the Blues, so that's a bit of good news. He captains the side from the second row. Marcel Renata gets a start this week. Harry Plummer still continues on at 10. There's no Perefeta. He is unfortunately still injured. And Funaki at number 9, because remember, Christie is still injured as well. Caleb Clark and Mark Talia, you will find 2 of the better attacking wings in Super Rugby Pacific this year. Mark Talia is certainly right up there with defenders beaten, and Caleb Clark is the top guy of the entire competition for run meters. So yeah, Talia back into the 23 is a bit of good news for the Blues. And Sam Darry is also back fit, so he is on the bench. For the Brumbies, very, very stable. Same front row. Caden Neville promoted to the second row, and then Jerome Brown comes in the back row. But otherwise, the forward pack is pretty much unchanged from the side that played a fortnight ago. Also the same 9-10 combo. Same midfield. Corey Tools on 7 tries. That's first equal in the entire competition, so he's been in absolutely cracking form. It's very, very stable. Coach Larkham is obviously taking a if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach to this game. They've also gone with a 6-2 split with just Harrison Goddard and Jack Debrasini being the 2 back replacements for this one. So maybe thinking this one's going to get done up front. And then the final game sees the Force taking on the Crusaders. And these sides have the same record of 1 win and 6 losses, which is not something you would have thought going into the start of the season. Obviously, the Crusaders were bloody close to winning last week against the Waratahs, but they ended up losing that one in added time. The Force coming off a bye, having copped a bit of a walloping from the Blues a fortnight ago. So, yeah, you feel like the Force bye came at a good time. And for the Crusaders, the second week in a row in Australia, they'll be looking to get a better result this time. For the Force, the forward pack is largely unchanged, same type 5, but Will Harris is promoted to the starting 15, having been on the bench a fortnight ago. Same 9-10 combo of Nick White and Ben Donaldson. Chase Tiatia is right up there in terms of attacking numbers as well, which you might find strange for a side well towards the bottom of the table, but he's first equal for clean breaks. But the biggest news is Kurtley Beale. Newly signed Kurtley Beale gets a start at 15 for the Force, so it's straight after signing, straight into the starting lineup for him. He is certainly a veteran. The Force in the past have had a knack of signing a few kind of veteran players, so we'll see if that experience is a help or if the change is a hindrance to the Force, but also bolstered by the likes of Isaac Rodder being back fit. He's on the bench. Michael Wells back fit. He's on the bench, so that is certainly good news. For the Crusaders, they have changed a few things. Moody and McAllister and Franks all get promoted from their bench role, so it's an all-new front row. The bench, basically front row last week, is the starting front row this week. Blackadder is fit for another week, which is certainly a bit of good news. We really hope that guy can string a few games together because it has been tough. Mitch Drummond promoted to the starting 15 this week. Likewise, Macca Springer and Christian Leo-Willie. And then you got Sever Reese, who kind of like Chase Tiatia for the Force, has been kind of tearing it up on one wing. Sever Reese is on, I think, 6 tries this season. I think he's equaled Caleb Ralph's all-time try-scoring record for the Crusaders. So he is certainly scoring at a heck of a pace. We'll see if he's able to bag any more up against the Force. And Ryan Crotty has come in on the bench for this one. So yeah, next week it's back to kind of full-on action. But these are the 4 games for round number 9. You guys let us know your thoughts on how they're going to go. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.